Hello Year 10. This is just a short introduction video to get you up and running with BandLab. Now when you click on the link that I've sent you all in an email, you should get sent to a page that looks like this. If it doesn't look like this, it probably means you need to set up a password and an email. Use your school email and create a password that you can remember. Write it down somewhere so that you do not forget it, please. Now, if I click into year 10, you can see that there's nothing going on in here yet. There's no activity because you guys haven't joined and none of you have submitted any music, but that will change soon. Now, if you click on this button up here, you can see it says My Library. Now, if I click on it, you'll see all the things that I've been working on over the last few years, but yours might be empty, which is also fine. Click on Mix Editor, and this will take us to the heart and soul of BandLab. You can see there's lots of buttons I can press. We're really only interested in 3 of them, and that is this Instruments, Drum Machine, and Browse Loops. Now today I'm going to show you about browsing loops, but I'll show you about the other 2 in another video. Now I've clicked on Browse Loops and nothing's really happened. You can see I've got an empty screen, no music. If I press play, nothing will happen because there is no music yet. This white line is called the playback line. You can drag it to wherever you'd like the music to begin or stop. Pressing play will obviously play, pressing pause will pause, this goes backwards, this goes forwards. This would record stuff, but we're not ready to record stuff just yet. This would control the key of our music, this would control the speed of our music, and there are other things you can do in BandLab, but I will not tell you about them just yet. I want to draw your attention to this side of the screen where it says Vibes and New, Saxophone, Jazz, Ultra Bounce, Drill. These are all libraries of sounds and sound effects that you can click on and drag things in, or you can click on them first like this. Lovely. And you can drag these, if you like the sound of them, into your music like this. So I now have some saxophone jazz in my music. Amazing. However, I'm not really interested in making a saxophone jazz piece, so I'm actually going to delete this track entirely and start again with Browse Loops. The best way I find to do it is if you go in this packs page and you click on genres, you'll see a drop down full of different genres, and you can use any of these to make music. I'm just going to pick rock/metal as an example, and in here there just happens to be one that says punk pop. Now we've been exploring punk pop in class, so this one just makes sense to me. And here are a bunch of punk pop loops and sound effects. If they have a circle here, that means they are a true loop and they will go round and round and round if you want them to. Whereas if they are just a flat line like this, that means they are a one shot, and it means you'll hear the sound once and that's it, it's over with. They're usually very, very short, maybe even less than a second. Now you could just grab random things and drag them into your music and hope that it sounds good, but more than likely it won't unless you give it a bit of thought. You need to pay attention to these 3 columns on the side of the screen. The first column tells you what instrument you'll be dragging in, so this is clearly a guitar loop, this one's for bass, this is guitar, cymbal, drums, percussion, etc. So don't drag a bunch of bass loops in and hope it will sound amazing. It will sound very muddy and low and you won't have much variety. So try and include a nice variety of instruments. This next column is the BPM, or the tempo of the loop. Now this one's 124 beats per minute, which is relatively fast. This one down here is 170, which is very fast. If you try and drag two loops in that are completely different speeds, they probably won't sound too good together, or it might try and automatically increase the speed of one or decrease the speed of another to make them match, which can also make them sound a little bit strange. The third and final column is probably the most important. You can see it says things like G maj or G major, F major, B major, B minor, C sharp major. These are really important because they tell you the key or the tonality of the loop that you're about to drag in. Now if you drag in 2 sounds which have completely different keys, they almost always will not sound good together. Now this one here, which is called punk pop bass C sharp 170 beats per minute, this one says it's in C sharp major, so I'm going to drag it in. I'm not even going to listen to it. And now I'm going to put it over there, and I'm going to see if I can find another loop in this library that is also in C sharp major. And there's one here called Punk Pop Full Guitar Strum. It's in C sharp major and it's also 170 beats per minute, which was the speed of this one, which I dragged in. So I bet these two will sound well together. Let's find out. Now, if you're thinking that sounds a bit weird and a bit naff, I totally agree. And the reason that is because even though I've dragged in something that's supposed to be 170 beats per minute, my project is set at 60 beats per minute. I think that's because of the jazz saxophone I put in earlier. So I'm going to change that to 170, which is the correct number. Yes, I want to adjust. This should now sound much more like it should. Yeah, it definitely does. By the way, you can see on the left of the screen there are M's and S's for each of your sounds you put in. M means mute, so if you wanted to mute the guitar but leave the bass playing, I could do that. Or if you want to do the other way around, you could mute the bass and have just the guitar. But both of them together sound like this. Now those two loops were clearly meant to be together. They're both in the same key, they're both the same speed. BandLab, you'll often find that on BandLab there are loops that just go together. They work really, really well, and they were almost designed that way. So let's keep looking. There might be some more things that are in C# major. There's one here, punk pop guitar lead. It's at the right speed, it's in the right key. Let's find out. Okay, this one's very different, so it's not immediately obvious if they'll work together. Let's drag it in and find out. And let's play it. Okay, that works pretty well. The only thing that's really missing now is some drums. Now you'll notice that anything that has drums in the name, or anything that says percussion in this column, drums and percussion do not have a key. They do not have a tonality like G major or C# major. You can't have drums in keys, so when you're looking for drums, don't be looking for the key to match your music. This one here says it's punk pop drums full, and it's 170 beats per minute. Now that is the speed that I am aiming for. This one here is at 167, which is pretty close, and it would probably sound good because, like I said, BandLab will automatically adjust the speed of this to make it match the speed here, 170. If I try dragging in something like this, 116 or even 81, that would sound really strange because it would have to adjust the speed drastically. I'm going to go for the 170 because that's the speed that I want to be at. Let's find out what that sounds like. That sounds like a pretty good start. Now, obviously here I have all four of the instruments all starting at the same time. Now in a pop punk song this might not be the case. You might start just with the bass or just with the guitar, and to do that it's really easy. You would just drag the ones that you don't want to start straight away over to, say, bar 9 or maybe to bar 5. Remember, music works best in phrases of 2 or 4 or maybe even 8 bars. So let's say I just want the strumming guitar to begin. I'll drag all of these ones over to bar 5, and that means the guitar will play for the first 4 bars and then the other instruments will join in. Let's see what that sounds like. That works pretty well. And you could experiment with this in many ways, but just make sure that when you're dragging things and letting go, making sure they line up with the beginnings of bars. If you just put them in random places, it can sound really strange when loops suddenly begin with no warning like this. See, that now just sounds like chaos.